We
What's up?
are live.
How's
Hi,
it
everybody.
going?
It's going well. I was telling you offline that I am a little tired. But I'm happy. I am tired, but I'm happy. So,
That's a good thing.
the kind of happy, the kind of tired that you are when you know that you've hit your goals,
Yep.
but you're
Yep.
tired because you worked hard. So,
Yeah.
I see people joining already. Thank you guys for joining us for the live stream. I hope we get a good number of people. So this call is going to be, well, let me backtrack a little bit. Coach Paul is my coach. He's going to be training me to accomplish my Boston qualifying time, which is 3 hours 55. I have to get used to saying it so that I'm not as scared. Um, And these would be our monthly coaching call. So we figured we would bring it to you so that you can also learn from the process and also see how Coach Paul trains his athletes. So, but yeah, so I'm gonna briefly shut up here and I'm gonna let you talk, Paul, and introduce yourself.
Sure. Well, my name's Paul. I am the host of the Dev Runner channel on YouTube. You can find me as um, the Dev Runner on Instagram. I'm just starting to get my feet wet with TikTok, but there's nothing really there yet. Um, as far as the things that are most important to me right now, I just launched devrunnercoaching.com because I've had so many people just kind of coming to me and saying, I'm really curious, to know what your fees look like and what your training philosophy is and all that kind of stuff. And, a lot of people, they want to know that stuff, but they don't want to have to get in my face and say, oh, well, I'm not in the mood for that right now. So that's all live on devrunnercoaching.com for anybody who's curious. And yeah,
I'll
I'm
put a
very
link.
excited because, oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. But yeah, I mean, working with runners of every level is so exciting for me because, Susie is such a perfect example because she's such a great runner. She's such a dedicated runner, and she's got a goal that she has wanted for so long to achieve. And she just needed a little help in sort of focusing what you needed, Susie, to be able to get there. And I have all the confidence in the world about you to be able to reach that goal. And so far,
I think we just lost you. The most important part when you were going to say really good things about me. Hold on a second. I think we lost you. I don't know if you guys can hear him.
oh, are we back? I think we're
Yes,
back.
you're back. Yes, you're
Okay.
back.
Good stuff. So I don't know how much of that you all missed out, but in working with Susie for the last 6 or 7 weeks through her plan, I got to tell you, Susie's determination and her ability has been just so evident. I mean,
Thank you.
we started with sort of like the easy speed stuff, strides and stuff in the first few weeks, and Susie was nailing them, like just nailing them and getting faster week over week in these small little increments, but that's exactly what you want to see. And now we've sort of moved into the phase where we've kind of built a good mileage base, and we're starting to combine minor um, improvements in distance, but we're starting to introduce true speed work at this point. Susie is actually headed off to the track for the very first time tomorrow morning on very little rest. And, even though she's going to be running on tired legs, that's part of the plan. Once you start into the sort of the heart of a training plan, as a runner, you have to expect that you're always going to be a little bit tired. You're never going to be handed perfect conditions anymore. The only time that you're going to see perfect conditions between now and April is on race day. You know what I mean? That's when you're going to
Hopefully.
be.
We'll see if the
Yeah,
weather cooperates. That's a different.
exactly. But as far as the way your body feels, you're never going to feel 100% again until race day. So but that's part of growing. That's part of getting stronger is You go into your track days feeling a little tired, feeling a little bit like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. But it's the effort. It's the fact that you're giving full effort. It's the fact that you're going in with a positive attitude that makes the difference in the end. Whether or not you hit your marks at the track, trust me, does not matter, because what you're going to find is you're going to just get used to the way things roll when you're doing 400s and 800s and 1600-meter intervals, and you're just kind of learning the way it works, and you're learning the kind of rest you need in between them. Hey, Linda.
Hi, Linda. We have Sylvain, which I love having Sylvain because they post, it's a couple actually. I think you both use the same, and they both post in French. So it's kind of neat. From time to time, they post in French.
Hey, Sylvain, how you doing? And yeah, Susie. So like, it's a very exciting time for us to have this call, because like I said, you're just going to start moving into the phases now where you're getting introduced to track work, but we're going to start moving your tempo efforts to later in the week, so that you're kind of blowing your legs out hard on Mondays or Tuesdays, depending on the week.
Yeah.
And then you get just enough rest to kind of keep you from breaking. And then we're heading into like your Thursdays, where you're going to be doing a couple of miles of tempo work. Then you get just enough rest on a Friday that you go into your long runs on the weekend. And, those long runs are now going to be a mix of every second week you get an easy run. But then we're going to ask even more of your body, and we're going to start building the speed. You're going to start running progression runs when your legs are tired and your hips are tired and your glutes are tired, and without attempting not to push you too hard, but to keep you on very close to the razor's edge, where it's not so much hitting the times that matter. It's a matter of just pushing your body comfortably hard enough so that week after week, just like we did with the strides, of trying to eke out that incremental improvement week over week. And by the time you are a month out from race day, you're going to be riding on this bubble, as we talked about, when we first started this journey, where you're like, look at me, you can't break me, I'm strong no matter how you look at me. And you're just going to be dying to get to that start line, because you're going to have the confidence from your physical abilities. You're going to go in knowing you've got this, and so far everything that Susie is doing looks that way. I know she's very nervous.
I am nervous. I don't know. So before, I've been training with like training plans on a book or on an app, not made for me. So there's a difference there. But every single time I was hitting those workouts before you came into my life, I felt confident that I could do them. Now it's the first time that when I look at it, it's like, I don't know. I'm going to try my best. But so one of the things that to me, I think I learned pretty quickly is that I was going, and I knew that I was doing this in the past, is that I was going all out. And then the first couple of miles just, blowing up, and then getting slower as the miles progress. So, and now I'm always like, when I have your, like yesterday during the long run, I had to do 4 middle miles faster.
Yep.
And I was calculating, I was like, okay, let me not do the first one super fast, because I'm not going to be able to keep it up the second, the third, and the fourth, and then finish, the 12 miles. So let's just see how these goes. And I did the first one, the second one, and then the third one and the fourth one I pushed.
Yep.
But I was trying not to look at the watch too much, because that takes, well, first of all, it takes all the joy out of the, you're going fast and then you see the pace and you're like, I'm not going that fast. So I wanted to like, okay, I'm just going to give it my all, and then we'll see if I, so in a general sense, I knew that I was kind of in that range, but I was happy to see at the end that, like the first 2 miles were slower, and the second 2 miles were like much, like 15 seconds faster. So I
Yeah,
was happy
well,
about that.
I'd like to dig into the details of that a little bit because, I think people can really learn a lot from that one particular section of that one particular run. Um, Now, Susie's long run was 12 miles yesterday, and the instructions were to start off with the first 4 miles at just building your pace. Start easy and build into your general aerobic pace, just to get everything moving the way it's supposed to. And then the middle 4 miles were supposed to run exactly at half marathon pace, and then you take the last 4 miles easy, just to kind of let your body recover so that you're not sore and in pain once the run is over. And Susie got to that fifth mile of the run, the fifth mile of the run where the half marathon pace was supposed to begin. And I think she ran it at a 9:22, which is very, very close to where she was supposed to be. And the first thing I want to
I was
point out,
trying not to blow it again. I was like, okay, let me hold here because there's 3 more. Yeah.
exactly. And I do, after all the years of my running, I'm exactly the same way. Like I'm always nervous, and it's just every runner I think has that fear of what if I can't do it today, and that's just perfectly natural. But one of the two things that's really important to me, and what is so positive about this run for Susie, is that she said she wasn't slave to the watch. She wasn't like, oh my goodness, I'm a second off, I better speed up. She was running very much by feel. And what that proved to me, the fact that Susie was so close to her half marathon pace without, being so careful about what the watch said, is that it already shows me how good a job Susie has done over the last 6 weeks of internalizing these paces. Susie is well on her way to knowing exactly what certain paces feel like, so that when race day comes along, if for whatever reason you lose your GPS signal, you're going to know you're pretty close anyway, and you're going to be able to just say, okay, the way this feels right now, as long as I keep this up, I'm good. And the second thing that is so positive, as far as I'm concerned, with Susie's 4 miles in the middle of that run, is that after those first 2 miles of being in the very low 9:20 range, I guess that's when the confidence kicked in of, yeah, I'm definitely going to be able to hang on to this pace. And she picked it up and she was running like 9:08s, I think, or 9:05.
9:05. 9:05. I was like, I can do this.
Just awesome stuff. Just absolutely awesome stuff. Because now that we have proven that you can do it, Susie, what you'll see in the coming weeks, in between easier long runs, we'll be revisiting one of two long run workouts. One is the progression run, where you continually get faster as the miles go by. But we'll also be returning to these bouts of more miles at half marathon pace. And the idea is that by the time we are a month out from race day, you will be able to run over half of your long run miles at half marathon pace on very tired legs with multiple weeks of accumulated fatigue in your legs, but you'll still be able to do it. And that goes a long way to helping runners get that mental confidence that if I can do that when I'm tired, when I'm running 45 miles a week, when I'm well rested, 13.1 miles is going to feel pretty darn easy. So that's the way I like to do it, is when you're 4 or 5 weeks out from race day, that's when you're going to see your most challenging workout. And then the speed remains in your weekly workouts and can in fact get more intense for shorter bouts, like during the week. But your long runs will then start sort of coming down in distance, just to make sure that that fatigue sort of just starts to dissipate, and there's nothing standing in your way from just, when you hit the start line, the only thing I want you to be nervous about is not, can I do it? Can I hit my mark? But I wonder if I'll be able to go even faster than I intended. That's where I want the nerves to be. So
that would be so cool. I was actually thinking that would be like that would be a dream come true. when I was running today, I was like, well, it would be neat to just be even faster. I don't know. I feel again, I feel tired, but
Yeah,
I'm
this
happy
is
with
where you
how
should
things
be right now.
happen. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
feel like I'm being challenged, but I am not, but I'm happy with how things are going. So,
I'm
yeah.
glad to hear that, because I'll tell you right now, when we talk to each other a month from now, when we're doing, whether it's online or not, when we meet to do this kind of video conference in a month, the tired you feel now, you'll kind of be praying that you are only that tired in a month.
If I told you, like, one of the things I'm going to incorporate in my weekly vlogs for YouTube, the one coming up tomorrow, I'm actually going to take a screenshot of my hours of sleep. Last night I slept 9 hours and 57 minutes, and I could
Oh,
have taken a nap today. So I was like, I feel so tired. I could take another, like, a little tiny 20-minute nap. So I didn't, but
that's wonderful, because sleep is the biggest tool that runners have to recover. There's a lot of talk about hydration. There's a lot of talk about making sure your electrolytes are topped up, and all the different theories about nutrition. But nothing does the job like sleep. That, if you're worried about tweaking your nutrition, that's great. That'll get you a 3 or 4% gain in your abilities as a runner if you really, really get your nutrition dialed in. But if you're worried about hydration and nutrition above the amount of sleep you're getting, then you're kind of misinformed in where your biggest gains are going to be. The first thing runners need to worry about is getting more sleep and restructuring their lives and their day to make sure that they're getting minimum 8 hours sleep a night. After that, then start worrying about your nutrition and all that kind of fun, because you can get everything right. And if you're only sleeping 5-6 hours a night, I'm sorry, but you're just not going to be as good a runner as you can be.
right. No, I'm covered in the sleep department.
I'm
Right
happy
now.
to hear that. So happy to hear that.
Yep. So let's talk a little bit about, well, so we hit a hiccup, and I haven't shared this, so we're going to share it. We have a, premiere for you guys. I went on to sign to the Jersey City Half Marathon last week. So last week we were 12 weeks out. I've never signed up for anything that early,
Mhm.
not even Disney. Let's be open and honest. Well, maybe Disney I have, but nothing really that early. That's not like a super huge race. They
Mhm.
were already sold out, and I was runner 347 on the wait list. So I texted Paul frantically, and we were trying to find other races. So that would have been April 23rd. It's not going to be April 23rd because they're full. They have a super long wait list. So we have chosen April Fools, which is April 2nd. I've run this race before. It's entirely flat. It could be a little chilly because last year it was a little bit, it was chilly. I think it was like 40 degrees, but
To me,
it is
that's perfect race conditions.
it is what it is, and the benefit is that because Jersey City has become this massive event, they have 6,000 runners, and some of the streets that they're going to be running on are kind of, I mean, there's turns because it's through the city, it's through Jersey City. So
Mhm.
some of the turns, there's a lot of turns, and some of the turns are going to get very cramped. I think it's the right choice to make. We lose 3 weeks of training, but I'm never going to be jammed with anybody else because it's a big, the streets are big, and it's not a lot of runners. I think they only have like 1,500 runners.
That's
So
great. That's great.
yeah.
That's great. Yeah. So, I mean, the race itself sounds ideal. So that's the
And
first.
there's like, it's an out and back. There's one turn to the right, one to the left, the back, and then one turn to the right and one turn to the left. That's it. So there's nothing, I'm not going to be putting a lot of extra miles on my legs because, you're not going to, it's not like there's a lot of turns and twists.
Exactly.
And yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. And you're not going to have to slow down a lot. Like you said, there's only one, at the out and back point where you're really going to have to like significantly change your pace. So
Right.
great news. You're going to get to move fast. And the 3 weeks of training that we lose, there are two things that I want you to think about to keep positive about this. The first one is that February, we're already, February's already got so much speed and tempo work in it that by the time we hit March, and you're going to have like 2 weeks of really intense training that's like dedicated super duper speed work in March before we have to begin the taper. So you're already you're going to be pretty much like, if we had those extra 3 weeks of training and we were still running Jersey City, we would just be sort of putting a little bit more icing on the cake. But the nice thing is we still have all the time we need to sort of build that bubble of you being really, really strong going in. Now, my expectations for what you're going to run as a result of 3 fewer weeks to train, of course, I'm not going to expect the exact same times out of you because we just didn't have the time to sort of max out that speed, though you're going to have 95% of what you would have had at Jersey City. But if we back off the expectations a little bit, the good news is this wasn't the ultimate goal. This half marathon is a stepping stone to the BQ at Wineglass in October. So the way I want you to think about this is, okay, we're just getting the half done 3 weeks earlier. That just gives us 3 weeks after the half marathon to build your strength and your capabilities for the marathon afterwards. We don't actually lose anything, except maybe you're going to run this half marathon maybe a minute slower at the most than you would have if you had your
Well, let's just, I am like visualizing the 1 hour 53. So
Yeah.
I actually don't believe in, like, some people believe that if you manifest something, it happens. I don't think it happens, but not just
I think
because
it's
you're
all
manifesting.
manifested right here in between your
Yeah.
ears. And as long as you go in knowing that the preparation is there, that you've done everything you can do, that you've given it your all in the speed days, and that you stayed consistent, then there's nothing more you could conceivably give. And I want you to go into that race day with the full confidence, because Susie, like I said, you've completed 7 weeks of training already, and you haven't missed a day, and you haven't missed a workout. You've nailed every workout, and you're still getting faster. It's like, it's perfect conditions. You
Let's
are
knock
the
on
ideal.
wood.
I just, tomorrow, just to reiterate, Susie is going into her first track day on tired legs because, we had to switch things around. You don't get your usual day off and then the track day. So, I just want you to go into this first track day with the expectations of you're just learning what it feels like to gun for the times that I've set for the 400s and the 800s and the 1600s. The first couple of weeks at the track for anybody is all about just learning. Like when you run that first 400 and that first 800 and that first 1600, I fully expect to see you wildly far away from the goal times that I set you.
Okay.
Because you're just going to be learning what it takes to get there. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you run your first 1600, you're going to be on tired legs because you just ran a 400 and you just ran an 800 on minimal rest in between them. And you're going to go out, you're going to run that first lap of that 4-lap 1600 going, I wonder if I'm close to the pace I'm supposed to be at. And you're not going to have any indication until you get to that one lap of the when you hit that first lap done of the 4 laps, you're going to look down at your watch and go, oh, no, I better pick it up, or no, I really need to slow down or I'm never going to last. And it takes a couple of weeks before you're like, yeah, I know what this, just like with your long runs, I know what this pace feels like. It's the same thing at the track. You'll eventually, by week number 3, you'll get to the point where you're like, yep, I know what it feels like. I know what my 400 pace feels like. This is it, as opposed to I'm just killing myself. I'm moving way faster than I need to, or vice versa. I'm just being a little bit too lazy right now. You know what I mean? Which is, no matter, I've been running track now for about 3 years on my Track Tuesdays, and everybody has those days where it's just not there. Sometimes you're just a little bit too tired, but the thing I really want everybody out there who's watching to take away from this is it's not so much about being perfect down to the second. It's about giving it all the effort you've got. Even if you can't hit the times on a particular track day, the benefit comes from showing up and just getting it done. Even if you're running super slow that day, the amount of benefit you get from that sort of high-end threshold running, getting close to your VO2 max, has massive benefits for your cardiovascular system, and especially for the muscles in your legs. Like, you build so much muscle so quickly at the track, it's incredible. Like, you're gonna struggle the first couple of weeks. Week 3, I'm expecting you to have very consistent times for the first time, but still probably a little slow. And if you, Susie, sort of conform to the learning curve that I see out of most runners, somewhere around week 4, week 5, there's going to be this magic moment where you're like, dude, I just crushed it, and I wasn't even trying that hard, because that's usually the amount of time it takes. Like, you're not going to see the benefits of that first track session as far as your muscles expanding and your abilities expanding, probably for like a week and a half. You'll probably run like a tempo run a week and a half later where you'll get your first indication of the benefits from track day, where you go, I just went out and did 3 miles at tempo pace in the middle of a 7-mile run, and Paul, it was so easy. It just felt like I wasn't even trying. And it will
cast. I can't wait.
Trust me. Like, I know how happy you were when you started to see your speed build over just by simply doing strides. This is strides on steroids. Like, for the speed with which it benefits your body is incredible, because VO2 max work is just what it does. This is when I want you to start. Even though Garmin watches do, in my opinion, not a very accurate job of measuring your VO2 max, on a relative scale, it's still correct. Like, if you go into your first track workout and Garmin is telling you your VO2 max is like 40, whatever, I'm just picking a number. By the time you run your 4th track session, what's probably going to happen Thursday after that track session, when you go to run your tempo run, you're going to get feedback from your watch saying new VO2 max high. Like, you'll jump a point or two, and you'll be well on your way to you'll be disappointed on the weeks where you don't get a bump in your VO2 max estimation, because the strength you get from those sessions at the track for every runner of any ability are just huge, just absolutely huge. The trick is balancing. You get a lot of bang for your buck at the track, just a massive amount of benefit. Where a lot of runners make a mistake is, first of all, they get to the track too early before they've done their strides for several weeks, their hill work, fartleks, to build up the strength of your muscles and the ability of your muscles and tendons and ligaments to be able to put up with the kind of stress that the track introduces, because the track is very stressful. It's especially those shorter intervals like 200s, 400s, put a lot of stress on your legs. And if you haven't done that work beforehand to make everything in your body more resilient, it's an easy way to get injured. But if you've done that work like Susie has over the last 7 weeks, then the benefits are massive, and it spills over into everything else you do. Suddenly your long runs are going to seem effortless. Suddenly your tempo runs are going to feel like, Paul, I didn't feel like I had to put in that much effort. And there I was running half marathon pace and faster without trying. And I guarantee by the time we get to the back half of February, that's when that's going to kick in for you, Susie.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm super happy. And well, you know this, I love running. So, you know, being able to keep doing it, it just makes me super happy.
Yeah, I mean, keep doing it, and it's going to keep getting better and better.
I was thinking about it this morning. I haven't, well, again, knock on wood, but nothing hurts. Like, yes, I'm tired. My legs are tired, but nothing hurts.
That's great.
I mean, I don't have, like, nothing hurts. Like other people, when they run, they, you know, they're like my hips or my, I might have a little, you know, like I might be a little uncomfortable somewhere. Like usually it's my right ankle, but it's like, it goes away. It's like, I don't know, like 15 minutes, and then it's like a nugget, you know, like it's like a little bit of, but it's, I know why, because I've twisted my right ankle so many times, probably 7 or 8 times in my life. So I know that's my week.
Yeah, I'm with you. And you know, the other thing I want to point out to everybody, because I think this is a great learning opportunity, not just for Susie, but for all of your followers, Susie, that are watching. Susie has been so good about keeping up with her core work and her strength work.
Not strength this week. I have to be honest. I've only done core this week. I didn't have time to do strength. Because I was traveling. So.
But over the last 7 weeks, you've been so consistent. You know what I mean? Like if you miss a workout here or there, I'm in the exact same boat. I only got in one strength routine this week, you know, and you know, it is what it is. I feel guilty about it, but the point is, the two of us are being consistent over the long haul, so that one missed workout is not going to have that big effect as long as we get right back on it. And the effect of that core and that strength work is that, yeah, Susie's tired, but she's not injured. If she hadn't been consistent with the strength work and the core work, I'm not saying that Susie would be injured right now, but the odds, especially going into this track period, I would be a lot more worried, and I would be having her run far slower times at the track than if I knew that she was being very consistent, you know, because you can't hammer it enough. You can't tell runners enough. You have to cross train as a runner. To just run is just asking for trouble. And if you want to really excel like Susie is, then you got to do the extra work. And we're not talking about a ton of time here. We're talking about 15 minutes a day for core work. We're talking about 30 minutes twice a week for strength work. Not a lot, but the amount of resiliency that it allows for your body is just, it's the only way to get fast and not get hurt.
Right. So explain why you load the days. Like, I don't do strength. Like, when should a runner do strength, and when you should forgo it?
Yeah. Which so the easy way to say it is easy days easy, hard days hard. When you've done a hard workout like a long run, the next day is going to be, if there's a run at all, it's going to be easy. Go out for 3 or 4 miles, dead easy. Throw away your watch. Don't take your watch with you except to measure the distance. Go to a screen that doesn't show you your pace or your speed, and run at what is comfortable that day. That varies throughout the week for me. For every runner, you should be thinking in terms of, I'm running because I want to drain the lactate from my muscles. I'm running because it stretches out those fibers again and gives them a better chance. It provides the light, very super light exercise provides more blood flow to those muscles so that they can heal faster than if I was just laying around at home saying, oh, it hurts. you do heal faster, but you have to take it easy. And if on some days that means 13-minute miles or slower, then go with it. Don't be slave to a pace on those easy days, and do your core work can span across easy days and hard days, but you don't do your strength work on easy days. Easy days are dedicated to healing and resting. As hard as it can be sometimes, what you really want to do is get your strength work in on the days that you're going to the track, on the days you're doing your long run, if you have to. But like on the days where you're doing your tempo runs, you want to go out, get your run over with, get rehydrated, get some protein and some fats and some carbohydrates into your system, give yourself an hour or two for that to absorb into your body, and then go to the gym, or whatever your strength routine workout looks like, because you stack the hard stuff. Not only are you getting everything done on the hard days, you're making your body even more resilient, and you're strengthening your mind as well, because you're saying, yeah, I was just out there and I was just killing myself at the track, but I'm not done yet. And I'm not going to allow myself to think I'm done yet until everything's done. And it makes you that much stronger mentally, so that when you go into race day, you're like, oh, come on, I've just spent 18, 20 weeks pushing myself. And this way, when you're at mile 10 of a half marathon, or you're at mile 20 of a full marathon, and every fiber of your being is just screaming at you to slow down and to stop, that's when you get to dig into that mental cookie jar and say, no. Think of all those weeks and months where I refused to give up, where I did go into my basement, or I did go to the gym, and I pushed myself to get it done. I didn't do all that work to give up now, so I'm just going to push through for this next half hour and get the job done and get my PR. And it all builds. It's all part of not just your physical capability, but your mental capability. So, yeah, hard days hard, easy days easy.
Very nice, because I know there's people who do their strength work on easy days, and I used to. That's the one thing that I changed. Well, many things changed, but but that's the one thing that I have actually noticed the difference, because before I was doing my strength with my easy days, and then my legs would always be sore. If they were not sore because of the strength, they were sore because of the runs.
Yep.
But now, again, I am tired, but I'm not as sore as I used to be when I was like doing the strength on my easy days running.
Exactly. And like one of the big pitfalls of that, if you do your strength work on your days when the running is easier, it has the same effect as somebody who runs too fast on their easy days. What you get good at as a runner, if you're doing that, if you're running your easy days too fast, and what that does is it doesn't leave you with enough juice to go as fast as you need to on your hard days.
Right.
So your fast days become slower and your slow days become too fast. And what you end up finding is that your race times aren't improving. You're just kind of always in that sort of middle zone of, why can't I get better? And it's exactly because of that. There's no big secrets. The elites they're not good at keeping secrets. The answers are all out there. It's just that most runners underestimate what a big effect these kind of little details make. If you can make yourself get out there and do strength work twice a week, if you can work on your core, build it up to where you're doing it every day, and if you're taking those easy days super easy, you're going to be a better runner. That's all there is to it.
We have a question from Dan.
Hey, Dan, how's it going?
Great advice, Combo. Now I have to do my strength training on the weekend on either speed day or long day. It's the nature of my work. Actually feels good to do the strength today after my fartlek. So that's kind of what you were talking about. Just do it on the hard days. Yeah.
Yep. Get it over with after the run. always after the run. Anybody who watches my weekly training videos knows that every once in a while I try to sneak in a strength workout on an easy day, and I always pay the price the next day. It's like without exception, I always tank a fast day if I try to get away with it. So yeah, everybody's the same in that sense. Just easy days easy, hard days hard.
And why do you prescribe the core work before the run?
A couple of reasons. Number one, it wakes your body up and gets it ready for your run. You know, I used to be one of those people. It's several years ago now, but I used to just literally wake up, roll out of bed, have my sneakers on, and I'd be running before I was even fully awake. And you can do that, but if your body's awake, if you've given your especially your core a chance to awaken and to have to stress itself a little bit, it makes it a lot easier to run with good form. If you're running with good form, speed is easier, etc., etc. And also because it gives you a chance to hydrate and maybe get in a little bit of food beforehand. Not that that's really tied to the core work, but they usually kind of go hand in hand. If you can get hydrated and get a few calories in you before you do your core work, then it's just going to benefit the run as well.
Right. I wanted to talk to you about nutrition, like for the long runs. So
Absolutely.
one of the things that I wasn't happy with during my long run yesterday is that I purchased this Nathan water bottle. It's an 18 ounces because I figured, you know, maybe I need, not all the races allow you to carry a backpack, a camelback, but many let you just carry your own. So I was thinking, well, maybe I should get used to it just in case. I
I'm
don't
with
know.
you. It's a good, smart move.
It's, yeah. So I purchased one and I did my long run with it. And I figured really quickly, it's really easy to do your easy miles holding the thing. But if you're going fast, that freaking thing is like so annoying. It's like
Oh
I
yeah.
didn't know how to hold it. The water was splashing constantly. It was making me crazy. So I was thinking, well, this is a good learning opportunity because during a race, anything could go wrong. So I just let's roll with it. But also, what I noticed is so you told me to drink 1 ounce every 20 minutes, I think it was, and I was
Yeah.
no.
No, that's a little bit off, but we can correct that
Okay.
and turn that out to everybody.
Well, that's what I did. I can't do that because I need to, like, no, I need to stop and go to porta potty. So I can't drink 1 ounce every 20 minutes. It's too much water, I
Wow.
think.
Okay. Wow.
I can't. I was struggling at the end. Like
Okay.
I
So
stopped on mile 3 and then like at the end I was struggling. Like it was like I can't wait to get home to go to bathroom. So it's too much water for me
wow. Okay.
on a cold day. I mean, that's also, it was 45, I think. So maybe that I'm sure that would make a difference if you're like,
Yeah,
yeah.
oh, absolutely. When it's hot out, you know, you have to hydrate like crazy. You know, but yeah, you're not going to like this bit of news, Susie.
Okay.
Yeah, what I actually recommend to runners is getting on long runs, getting, let me rewind that a little bit. Any run that lasts longer than an hour, I recommend that people bring liquid with them.
Okay.
Anything that's an hour or less, you can get away with it. By the time you start getting really thirsty, that runs over without already anyway. But on your middle long runs and your long runs, bring liquid with you. What I recommend to people on the long run, especially, is to drink. This is going to blow your mind.
Okay. How much can I can already tell you there's no way.
To take one sip, to get a sip of, you know, assuming it's not, whether it's water or not, but especially if it's like an energy drink like Tailwind or UCAN or even Gatorade. And if it's a run where you are trying to move faster than easy pace, if there's a certain amount of performance expected from that run, one sip every half mile. Is what
I can't do it. I'm ready. I was like, okay, let's drink. And I was, the bottle has, again, you're running, so I eyeballed it. But, you see that I'm drinking water and it goes down a little bit. I say, well, that looks like about an ounce. Um, and I was trying to do it every 20 minutes, and I'm telling you, there's no way. There's
Okay,
no way.
so
I would
there's a
have to
couple of
stop.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that we can
And
talk about.
I had tailwind on it. So I put
Okay.
tailwind. So it was
Good.
not like, I said, it was like, okay, if it had been water, water goes through your system much faster. But it was tailwind. So yeah, so that
Okay.
holds it a little bit.
So here's hope for the future. If you're willing to trust me on this, I would really like to see you. I'd really like to see it on your medium long runs and your long runs, because the good news is that your bladder and your entire gastrointestinal system can be trained. Just because something is hard or doesn't work for you now doesn't mean you can't get your body used to it. And that's why we do all this sort of fueling training for long runs right from the first time your mileage starts getting significant, all the way to the end of the training cycle. I want all of your long runs to be about finding the gels that work for you and finding the drinks that work for you, and getting used to fueling at regular intervals. The reason I like to have runners get a sip in every half mile, especially for those people who are training for a half marathon and beyond, is because if you are not hydrating sufficiently in the early miles, by the time you start to feel thirsty in the later miles, it's too late. You're never going to catch up on that hydration. And especially when you're talking about a marathon, by the time you get to mile like 15, 16, and you start to notice that you're thirsty and that you're starting to, your muscles are starting to get kind of crampy, I hate to say it, but you're not going to catch up. Even if you start guzzling now, you're not going to catch up. You have to get ahead of that curve. You have to get the fuel and you have to get the hydration in those early miles, not just because it's too late in those later miles, but in those later miles of a race, the lining of your stomach and of your large and small intestine actually become less able to absorb the liquids because of the stress your body is under. Your body is at that point starting to go into what do we do to try to preserve our health kind of emergency mode. But in the beginning miles, it's why, like the elites, the elite runners like Kipchoge, the drinks he takes at the beginning of a marathon in those first few miles have way more electrolytes and way more sugars in them than the bottles he's taking in the later stages, because they've already proven them. Far too many studies have proven this time and time again. Your body's ability to take in those nutrients and those electrolytes is way better at the beginning. Even when you don't feel like you need them, it's going to get them into your system. It's going to keep your bloodstream thinner, and which means your heart has to work not as hard. Once you start sweating heavily and you get into that liquid deficit, your blood gets thicker. It almost gets like glue. And what you see, everybody, take a look at your Strava, take a look at your Garmin on those long runs. What you will always see, if you're one of the clues that you're being underhydrated, is that you'll be clipping along, you'll start to feel tired, but your heart rate is still kind of even. And then there will suddenly be this spike. And no matter what you do, you can't get your heart rate back down. That's because your body just hit that point where it's saying, okay, the blood's getting thick. I got to pump harder. I got to pump harder and more often to push that glue through the veins, to get that oxygen to the muscles that need them so badly, because this crazy person won't stop running. So And once you get to that point, it's too late. That's where the bonk is, So
Right.
as much as you don't want to hear this, Susie,
Okay.
I'm
I'll
telling you
practice. No, you convinced me. Yeah. It's just that yeah, I was like, what's going on with me? Like, I need to go to bathroom again.
yeah, no, I'm blessed with one of the worst bladders in the world. Like I've got the quintessential old man bladder. So like I've got to be so careful about caffeine intake and everything because caffeine is a known diuretic. So if you're not very careful, if you don't get your body used to taking in more caffeine and more liquid in general over the weeks of the training plan, then yeah, it's really hard to kind of demand that from your body on race days. So as much as those bathrooms stops kind of get in the way. Hey Heather, how's it going?
Hey,
Yeah,
Heather.
exactly, Heather. You're correct. Um, yeah, trust me, Susie. Over the next few weeks, you can train your body to absorb that liquid more efficiently and not just send it straight to your bladder. So
And distributed because that's what was going on. It was not, I could feel like I would drink and then it would be like, if I could stop, I would stop right now.
yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, one of the things that you can do to kind of try to alleviate some of that stress is save caffeine intake for the back half of the race because caffeine does a couple of things mid race, especially because your body's bouncing. And when you combine caffeine with all that bouncing, it can make you want to evacuate your bowels more,
Right. It's a
and
known effect of coffee. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. And plus, yeah, it can also, yeah, it's going to make you want to pee and make you want to do all the things that no runner wants to happen in the middle of a race. So,
Right.
what I recommend is that get a small shot of caffeine 20 minutes before the race, just to kind of wake your body up and to kind of give you that oomph you need to come off the line. And then wait, like in the case of a half marathon, don't think about hitting caffeine again until mile 6, 7, 8. And then you can just start weaning it in with gels that have very little, like 20, 25 milligrams of caffeine. Or in the case of caffeinated tailwind, it's a little harder because unless you're going to carry two bottles, one with just sugar water and then one with a caffeinated tailwind or something like that, it can get a little more complicated. But yeah, over the years, I've been training my body to get used to caffeinated tailwind exclusively as my liquid because my body responds incredibly well to caffeine. Like the difference between me running on Gatorade and me running on caffeinated tailwind, it's like two different people. It's just unbelievable. Like I couldn't run a PR without caffeine, no doubt about it.
Oh, wow. I don't drink. I know that you insist that, be careful with caffeine. I only drink 2 cups of coffee a day. So, and I drink them in the morning. So I drink
Yeah,
one, I drink them before the latest I have my second cup is 10:30. That's it. And then I don't have
that's
any
great.
more caffeine.
And I think that's why you're able to sleep so well, is because you're being very careful with that caffeine intake. But yeah, I guess the last 10 minutes of our conversation, I think that the big takeaway, Susie, is that just force yourself to do the half mile thing and just see. Let's spend the next couple of weeks just seeing what happens. Let's see if your body starts adjusting. And if it doesn't, then we can maybe cut back on that so that you're hydrating once a mile. But if we can
So how
get
do you, because in races, typically you have water usually in good races, it's every mile and a half you have
yeah,
water and
every
maybe
couple
two.
of miles at the most, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
what do you do then?
well, I'll tell you what I do. And for the half marathon, it doesn't matter so much because, like you're saying, you've got your little handheld that holds 18 ounces. That's what I use in half marathons. I like to have my fuel with me so I don't have to slow down and stop at the fueling stations. I like to just kind of like, because it ends up saving you like 30, 45 seconds over a half marathon
That is
of
true.
time,
Yeah.
so that's one bonus. And plus you're carrying the fuel that works for you, that you've been training with over the last several weeks, and it's your body's good with it. So that's a huge advantage too, psychologically. Um, over the marathon distance, I've run 12 marathons. I've never run a marathon without the backpack, without the hydration pack, because I always run with my own fuel. And especially in the early miles, it's a disadvantage in a lot of ways because
Okay,
you've got
cool.
4 pounds on your back that you wouldn't have otherwise. But again, you get the benefit of knowing your fuel is exactly what works for you. You save in a marathon at least 2 minutes of time, from not having to slow down and stop to drink. The disadvantage is at races like a lot of the world majors, and I know for sure at Boston, you're not allowed to run with a hydration pack. So should I ever decide I'm going to run Boston, I'm just going to have to just, get used to just stopping at the, yeah, exactly. Run with a handheld, maybe two,
Some people do. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I wanted to mention because I feel exactly the same way about the handhelds. It throws off your arm swing. And that's why you'll see a lot of people run with two. Not so much that it's not cool to not have a hand free that in case you need something, but having those counterbalanced weights makes it a lot easier to maintain proper running form. So something to think about.
I have to practice more with it. It's just one of those things. I think it's big enough that especially when it's full, you can tell and I was carrying it on my right, then I had to go to the left. You have to, because your arm gets tired because it's 18 ounces, it's weight that you have on just one arm.
I hate them, but it's one of those things where I think the trade-off is worth it, like in a half marathon. I just like knowing that I've got the fuel that works for me. So I do it.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's something to think about.
Yeah. So it's funny because, that's the only thing, talking about, taking in liquid as you run. You're killing it in every possible way in this training cycle, Susie. So like, if this is our biggest worry, then darn it all, I'll take this as the biggest worry.
No, I am sure there's a formula for, and everybody's different, but I'm sure there's a formula for me that, will allow me to run as fast as I can with the least amount of interruptions. And that's like, I know when I'm running like this marathon, I run it slow. For me, it was a pace that to me was very, very comfortable. Mm-hmm. I knew exactly that I had to, like, I can actually forego water every other water station because I wasn't even like sweating that much that I wasn't like overexerting myself. And at the end, I don't think I had water after, like the last 3 miles. I know I didn't have water because I didn't need it. So I was not, but I'm sure for performance, there's a magic number there. There has to be something that's like, okay, this amount of carbs, this amount of liquid, like every whatever.
I mean, generally speaking, in the marathon, you want to make sure you're taking in about 300 for most people. I mean, and it does vary wildly from person to person, but the average person needs to take in about 300 calories an hour over the course of the marathon in order to be able to realistically maintain their pace to the end.
So that's like three gels. If you're just doing gels,
if you're not doing like Tailwind or some kind of liquid fuel as well, then my rule of thumb that I know works for me, just as an example for everybody out there, is one gel 20 minutes before a marathon starts, then another gel every 4 miles, which is for me every at this point it's like every 26 minutes. And whatever your speed is, you want to count on. That's kind of where you want to be. Anywhere between every 25 to 30 minutes, gel again. Get that 100 calories in there and just keep on moving. And if your calories are coming, especially if they're coming exclusively from gels, that's another reason why you really, really have to stay hydrated, because those gels are not going to absorb into your gut lining very well without the liquid to thin them out.
Right. Another reason to have a water bottle is sometimes races run out of either water or cups.
Oh,
So if
I've
you
been there
have your
before
own,
too.
yeah,
Yeah,
if you have your own, container, someone can pour liquid on it.
yeah, yeah. I remember my first marathon um, in Charleston. I actually ran out of. I was carrying my own liquid, and I actually ran out. I was drinking it I was drinking way more than I should have, you know. And I actually stopped at like I think mile 18, and just handed them my gigantic bottle and said, "Just fill this for me, please." And I just sat there. I just sat there staring at my watch while they kind of went about their business. But it is what it is.
I mean, in an emergency, I ran my first marathon. Um, they ran out of water. Yeah. And so it was Marine Corps Marathon, which the year before they had run out of cups. So because they had run out of cups at mile 16, I think it was 15, there was a water station. And my friend said, once you hit that kind of 14, 15, carry your cup just in case they
Oh,
ran out of cups, because
great
then you have
idea.
a cup and they can fill it up. So I didn't toss the cup. I was running with the cup and they ran out of water. They had plenty of so I was there with my cup and no water to put on
That's awesome. Everybody
it.
around you was probably like, "Why didn't I think of that?"
Yeah, yeah.
That's cool.
So Linda's saying switch hands every half mile or mile and drink every time you switch. That's actually a good tip.
Great idea.
Every
Great
time you
idea.
switch, drink. Yeah.
Absolutely, Linda. Good job. Great
I
advice.
actually I switched hands more than a few times, but I didn't think of like drinking. But that's a great tip because when you feel like it, then drink.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep. Cool. So any questions for Paul, guys? I see there's a lot of people watching, and I guess because we have been talking about me. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, there haven't been an opportunity for questions. But before we wrap it up, if you have questions for Paul,
Yeah,
are
I'm
you
happy
taking
to
new
answer.
clients, Paul, or are you all booked now?
Say it again.
Are you taking new clients now, or are you all booked?
Yes, yes. Yeah. In fact, yeah. One thing I kind of pride myself on is that I always limit the number of clients that I take on because I love doing this so much that I want to make sure that every client that I work with gets like that I've got enough hours in the day that even if I get overwhelmed with all of my clients needing something at the same time, that I still have enough hours in the day to deal with that. So I cap the number of clients that I have at 9. And, as I get more efficient as a coach, maybe I'll bring that number up a little bit. But right now, that number seems to be 9, where I can handle it. And right now, I do have 3 spots open. So
Okay,
yeah, if there's
I'm one
anybody
of
out there
six. I can't
I
believe you're
missed that.
giving
I'm
me
sorry.
because you give white glove service. So I can't believe I'm getting this. And you have five others that you're doing this for. I mean, you're awesome, Paul. Because
I
sometimes
appreciate that thing.
I text you in the morning. I'm like, hey, this happened. Like, how do we handle this? And you're always there. So
Well,
always.
that's
Sometimes
what
I throw you a curveball, like with the race. Like I texted you and I was like, hey, we have a curveball, a huge one. Like it's not gonna be April 23rd because the race is full.
yeah,
What do we
yeah. I
do?
mean, everything has a solution, and if it has anything to do with running, I I've been at this. I've been informally coaching people and writing training plans for people for about 4 years now, and I've been certified for a couple of years now. So, and the reason I do it is because I love it. Like, I could talk running 24/7 if I didn't have to sleep. And yeah, I mean, anybody out there who's looking for a coach who wants somebody who's really, really going to pay close attention to everything you're doing. And, I pride myself on looking for the best solutions and changing as your lifestyle demands it. I'm all about that. That's all part of the fun. So
Right. You're awesome.
thank you. I think you're
Okay,
all.
we have a message from Heather saying, "Give Calvin pets for me."
Okay, we'll do.
I
I'm
guess
sure you
because
can
he's
hear him in the
around.
background making a lot of noise. But let's see if I can. Hang on here. See if I can do this. There he is, sitting
Hi,
next to me, waiting for me to be done.
Tommy. And if you guys don't have anything else for Paul or for me, I think we're gonna wrap it up. Do you have anything else, Paul, to address? You're gonna send me the paces because I've seen the plan, but you haven't sent me the paces. So
Yeah,
you
yeah. I'll
don't want to
send
scare
you
me, I guess.
your target times for track day tomorrow. And like I said, don't sweat it if you're nowhere near those times. The first couple of weeks at the track is all about just getting used to things. And the other thing I'm just going to repeat again is, Susie, you've been killing it. You've been like so spot on and so consistent that like I think this is going to be, as soon as we're done talking here and I go back into your training plan and make a couple of adjustments, I'm going to be up adjusting all your paces yet again, because you continue to amaze me with your ability to get stronger and faster. So it's so much fun working with you. Thank you.
Thank you. You're gonna hear me all the way there from the Northeast. I'm gonna be like, what? No, I'll just stay focused, and I'll give it I'll give it my all. That's what I do.
That's all we can ask. That's all we can ask. And you'll get there. I know you will.
Okay, guys. Thanks for joining.
Cool.
Thank you,
You for
Paul.
having me. Thank you so much, Susie.
Thank you, Paul. Run
Have a
fearless,
great
you guys. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Have a good one.